We're in.
Something is happening. I'm not sure yet.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I really have to thank you for bringing us to this incredible space right in the midst of the fashion district in downtown Los Angeles, a part of Los Angeles very near and dear to my heart. My mom, I don't think I've told you this, but my mom was actually a garment factory worker for probably 15 years.
Wow.
So making our way from the neighborhood in central LA to downtown LA was this recurring pattern for my brother and I. And so just the fact that we get to record here and the fact that we get to do it alongside this team, shout out to the team, shout out to the garment district, shout out to all the garment factory workers still doing
Esteban,
the thing.
Mars Built, this is where we're at. I also gotta say, you don't know this, but my grandfather was in the garment business in New York.
I could totally see
that. They did
that.
hats and all sorts of things, and so
He gave you,
I only own one suit right now, and you're like, you gotta wear this suit. I was wearing it the other day when I came by.
He gave you a great sense for taste, man.
He gave me a sense of taste.
Yeah.
My grandfather and everybody else in my family. So garments are nice. Fashion is nice. Flowers are nice. All this whole area of downtown is beautiful.
Yeah, and shout out to actually my mom and my whole team in that sense, because I mean, she's the one who came home with like pairs of jeans that she needed to work on through the evening, because there would be these bonuses for workers if they could do more while away from the actual district, since the point was the more productivity the better. And so honestly, it's interesting because I've always liked mom's style, her whole sense for fashion. It's like something very natural, very intuitive, and I think I've inherited that in a way.
You have great fashion. Whenever I've seen you, you always have. I mean, look at your belt right now. This belt. How would you describe that belt? I've never seen anything like it.
I love that. Honestly, I can't even recall, but it was probably like somewhere here in the garment district, if not along those lines, out through Los Angeles.
This is my dad's belt. I think it says RBC on it somewhere. Yeah, there
Oh,
it is.
see, that's great,
belt.
man. That's
RBC.
great. That's respect.
Right.
That's respect.
Got it from his house when he passed. Yeah.
So, I mean, it took a little bit of our people getting here before we could get here to have this very convo, and I think each of us are honoring them to a significant extent. And I mean to do that. I mean to
and this
honor
suit,
them with
by the
you.
way, I went to Macy's and I met this guy named Will. I was really verklempt, we would say in Jewish. Like I was very out of it, very panicked, and I was like, I don't know how to shop. Can you help me shop? And he was like, I'm in perfume, but no one's over here, so he just took care of me for a half hour. I was like, can you just pick for me? Like pick, because I was so not well. I had to go to a court situation, and so he took care of me, and then we talked about his own family and what he's going through with his family. And we took a picture together. I can give you the picture. But that's a LA story. It's like you go to LA and you like need to like shop for flowers, you need to shop for a gift, you need to shop really for anything. If you put your trust in someone and you're like, I don't know you from Adam, but you're like, I trust you to pick out the clothes, they'll take care of you like family for that 30 minutes, whatever it is. That's LA. I mean, probably everywhere if you really have your open mind about it. But shout out to Will at Macy's and Glendale Galleria. That's what it was.
Absolutely. Shout out to the workers everywhere they're at. And if this is your first time meeting Dave or myself, what I'd really love to do is introduce us for a second. So I'll start for us. I go by JT for Jimbo Times the LA Storyteller Podcast.
Yeah.
For your reference, Jimbo Times the LA Storyteller as an entity, as a creative force, as of just this past August 19th, turned 11 years old.
Wow.
So I really like that, because one day I thought, hey, I'd really love to put it down for this place that I come from. I think I'll name it after these newspapers that I tend to read, the LA Times and the New York Times. And because my given name is Jimmy, because my mom named me Jimmy, I thought, I'm going to twist it slightly. I'm going to call it Jimbo Times. Jimbo Times, the LA Storyteller, for the city of LA. Let the city know. And
I like that.
The work that I love to do is this. I love speaking with the people of Los Angeles. I love thinking about LA stories. I love thinking about the past, present, and future of this place. So many of us, 4 million of us, call home on a day-to-night basis. And this metropolitan district that 10 million of us
I was
call
gonna say
home.
four sounded low. I almost
Four is
did a
just a
Jewish thing
city.
and started saying like, I think it's more, brother. But you were like, I let you speak because that's what I'm trying to do more. And you were like, it's 10. I was like, oh, thank
4
God.
is the city, 10 is the county. The largest
Beautiful.
metropolitan county
And it's-
in the United States.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It is.
I love it here.
And
How long you been in LA for? How long you been?
well, I was born and raised in Los Angeles.
When was that? When was that? When was your birthday?
I'm
Your birth year?
a 1990s baby.
I mean, it's 2008, so you got me by a couple of years.
Just a handful.
Yeah.
You know, but we're not comparing.
I'm comparing because I compare sometimes.
Actually, yeah, with respect to that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Dave Cowen and Dave Cowen in Los Angeles.
Well, the first funny thing about Dave Cowen is that my name is also David Cowen. It's hard to, I don't really know anything about names right now because for a long time I was Dave, but now I'm going by David. And then I was raised as Cowen, but now people just kind of call me Cohen more and more. And I used to correct them, but I'm a Cohen or a Cohen. So I don't know about names.
You're both. I can dig
And
that.
kind of how you're saying
That's why I'm
Jimbo and
JT.
Jimmy and JT
Yeah.
and it kind of just is what it is.
We're on a similar frequency there.
Yeah. You said something about like in the prep, like what it was like when you first moved to LA. Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, tell us a little bit about hailing from the
Where I'm
East Coast
from?
initially.
So yeah, I'm from New York State, but not New York City. Like my parents are from New York City area, but they moved out to this place called Rochester, which is kind of like the Sacramento of New York State. Like literally, the Sacramento Kings came from the Rochester Royals.
Whoa.
Like back, that was the NBA team back in Rochester. They moved to Sacramento, so it's kind of like a mid city. You know, kind of like Sacramento's like a, you know, not the big city compared to LA and San Francisco and
Sure.
San Diego even. But my town is called Brighton. It's kind of like the Jewish suburb of that city of Rochester. Rochester, where Kodak was started, Eastman. So it's a lot of film stuff. There's a big film community there. Eastman House is music. There's also like Frederick Douglass was a really big deal. He was like one of the big abolitionists. And there's a lot of like it was on the Erie Canal, so it's just a lot of history of. Rochester was a bigger city, and then it's kind of tapered off. But Kodak was big before digital cameras. It was like the main thing for film. So it was big, and also my street is called. I'm not gonna say the name of my street, but it's Rhinecliff, and then it was Hollywood. It turned into Hollywood. So it was kind of funny that I lived on a street that wasn't. It turned into Hollywood anyway, and then what else? I don't know. I think at that time I grew up in the '90s and early '80s and the '90s. I was born in '84, and I think like media was so important. So I think I grew up I grew up in my hometown, but I also grew up in watching movies and things like that. I always wanted to be involved in that stuff. So that's what brought me out here in 2008. I had applied to go to USC Film School. I wasn't sure I was going to get in, but I came out here anyway. I drove out here, and the thing I remember the most about coming to California was the first smell. No one believes me when I say this, but it smelled like avocados. do you have any idea what that might it was true. It felt like it smelled like avocados. Like I had never been to California until I was 24, whatever it was when I moved out here. I'd never visited. Actually, no, I came to San Diego once with my parents, but it smelled like avocados, and people were like, that's not really making that up, but that's how it felt to me. But yeah, then I got into USC Film School, and that's how I started my LA life. And on a sensitive note, I think you're gonna say something about like how LA changed over the years. I'm jumping over your question. Sorry.
Well,
I should let
actually, you answered
yours.
part of my
Sorry.
question
Yeah. My bad.
from the outline, because what I asked you then was about a few things which stood out about Los Angeles when you first got here, and what stands out about Los Angeles now.
Right.
A compare and contrast.
What first stood out, I mean, New York. I moved to New York City for a couple of years before I went to LA after college. I went to college in Philadelphia at this university called Pennsylvania, the UPenn. And New York was fun, but like the subways and the lifestyle was tiring. I feel like LA is nice because it's like a big suburb, even though it's also a city. And it's like kind of reminds me of like where I grew up. It's comfortable that way. And this is both, I think I'm gonna say in life in general is non-dual, is both true and not true, and like not able to sum it all up. I would say that like I came out here with a big superior inferior complex. Like I was just thought I was so talented and also thought I was beneath everybody. And I came out here having some friends I already knew and really lean into who I knew, and thinking that was going to get me to where I need to go, and not really wanting to be involved in new people sometimes, but also not. Like it's hard to even define all that. And I think, you grew up here, and so some people who are filming this grew up here, and I was one of the people that showed up here and maybe wasn't involved in what it meant to be a Los Angeles person. Didn't know what that even meant, and just was here to like do the Hollywood thing and whatever that. And then I failed at that. I mean, I didn't fail, but I like didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve from the past. But I've achieved much more things that were much more valuable in the long run, and that includes becoming like a citizen in Los Angeles, whatever that means to other people. To me, it means like just loving every part of the city, loving every person in the city. And like that means anybody that you're involved, not because they can help you or because you are here for a reason. It's just everybody here is so beautiful and so fun to be around, and it's the whole world in one city. I mean, it's the capital. It feels like one of the capitals of the world for that reason. It's just everybody is here. That's ever lived anywhere else is also here, and I can't think of a better place to live than that now. Yeah. Even though I'm not even really involved in the things I used to be involved in or wanted to be involved in.
Now, what's also true about this time for you, which you shared with me in good faith, and which I want to bring back up for a moment in good faith, was that during your college years, you had essentially this, either we might say epiphany or this self-discovery that would remain with you for the rest of your life, essentially. And so I'd like to lend attention to that for a moment, because I think it's going to be a recurring theme throughout our conversation. Sure. That there are these gifts which are also not gifts, these strengths which are also not strengths, and so on. So I'd like to have you tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're getting at is like this idea of like energy, vibration, but also like bipolar disorder or mania or spirituality or depression or epiphany or God or ego and all these different things. And so when I was 21, I started to have understanding of the spiritual dimension of the world, but in a really egoic way, as in like no one really trained me, or not no one, but that's really, really weird to say it that way. But I was going through so much suffering. At that time in my life.
As a college student.
Because there was a lot of like partying. The culture of the education I was getting felt very like I took interesting classes, but there wasn't much spirituality. Even like I was taking psychology classes, I was taking literature classes, but there wasn't divinity in the education in the Ivy League school at that time. And to me, and I could be wrong, this could be my own like misperception. And so I had this breakthrough moment where I started to understand there was a spiritual dimension to the world, but it was felt or categorized or both as mania or as ego inflation, as in like I am God, or instead of like everyone can be God or everyone is God. It's for periods of time when other people would diagnose me, and then it became inflamed one way or another towards me being like a son of God, and or the son of God or whatever. And so that would kind of vacillate. And so my mom, I don't know, these personal things. I think everybody helped everybody. It was just people didn't know what to do with it at a certain time. My dad had the diagnosis, and so at that time, people want to help you. They want to help you. They want to put you in a hospital for a month. And whether that was right or wrong, maybe it was right. Maybe it was right because maybe I would have not known what to do with myself. I was 21. I didn't do much, And so my point, I don't know. The question is around spirituality versus mental illness, and I still don't know the difference sometimes, because I was just in a state of mental illness and spirituality, that got me into good things and got me into bad things. And sometimes I think God wants you to like go through things, like put you, Rumi I think would say like, put you in the reeds, knock you around on the ocean, and then sometimes you got to be knocked around the ocean, and you just got to go with that wave. Or Kanye would say the same thing, like that song Waves. I'm getting a little dizzy even talking about it, because sometimes you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know. That's one thing I'm learning is like, I don't even know what happened back then. I don't even know what happened yesterday, even right now. I don't even know what happened sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a minute, because I think what I mean to get at here is the way that you found what you have described as this spirituality, but also mental illness.
Yeah.
And you came to, at some point, accept this about yourself.
Yeah.
And move forward nonetheless, right? Like once you were able to maybe designate it or have it designated, have it named in some form. In this case, it was named as a bipolar disorder. Once you were able to take that and move on, you actually did get on with the rest of your life.
Yeah, from 21 to 34, I got on in a certain type of way where it was not even an issue. Like it was, but I was, in retrospect, probably more depressed and like fearful and angry and like kind of like I was not like a bad person. I didn't like commit crimes, but like I was not like the most loving. I mean, then people would say that you're being so hard on yourself if you actually knew who you were. I think that's another thing is like there's this guy Alain de Bottom, I think his name is, for School of Life, would say like if you didn't change so much year to year, if you don't look at yourself a year later and didn't think you changed radically, like you're not changing enough. So like let's keep that in mind, that everything is non-dual, that like everything I'm saying that's like negative about myself, my past self, is like also not true. Like I was also like a good person, or also had good things in my life. I also had a lot of fun. I also did interesting things, like I made cool things. So like that's why I'm getting kind of dizzy even like trying to talk about it. But like, yeah, I think it's something about like 21 to 34 that spiritual dimension like largely went to sleep. And then when my dad died at 34, when I didn't really go home and take care of him, and I didn't, maybe I couldn't have. Maybe that's just how I think Kabbalah and Judaism and things like that would say that like things went the way they went. Yeah, you could have done more, but like this is one path that went, and then I've learned a lot. Like I went at the 34 when he died, all that 21 stuff came back, but it came back with like a lot more reading and a lot more life lived. So I was able to go find books that would help me process it, like Alan Watts, like the Book of Taboo, like knowing knowing that everybody is basically has spirit dimension. Everybody is God. Everybody is not God. Everybody has divinity in them, is also a creature, and you're not special for realizing that about yourself, even if it felt like you were the only one at the time who felt that when you're 21 or whatever. But so that specialness versus the humbleness is like really important to me. That like feeling of humility that was driven into me by struggling in Los Angeles, I think really helped me when I was 34 to understand that like everybody I meet, people could be way more understanding of the spiritual dimension than I was in it, and I would never even know. I would never have known. I mean, and that's the thing about LA is that one of the most spiritual places beyond Hollywood. There's a whole like community here that is like way ahead, and I didn't even know existed for so many years, right? And then I come here, I'm like, oh wait, it's actually all here for that reason too. So LA is infinitely has depth and is manifold in that way. Like you can find anything you want here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think going back to looking at a person's evolution and their growth from year to year, I think it's more than fair to note that when someone gets out to a city like Los Angeles, where you have the home of Hollywood, where you've got the stars, where you've got the movie industry, and all these creators, where you've got so much potential in the air, I think it makes sense that most people arrive ambitiously and seeking to achieve as much as they can, and seeking to do that, let's say, for lack of a better term, the American way.
Right.
Going ahead and going after as many opportunities as possible, asking questions later, not taking too much of a chance on anything out of the way.
Yep.
But looking singularly at what success is
Yep.
and what success is supposed to be, because what else are you here for if not to find your success, right?
It's taking instead of giving. It's taking. And I think that's something that we talk about, give and take. And I think my understanding of Judaism now, this idea of Kabbalah, is like there's a lot more. You're trying to go from a creature who's always taking to a creature that's also giving as much as God is giving. God is giving unconditionally. And so that has been life-changing. I mean, that's evolved since my dad passed, but now it's becoming more and more of a life ethos. And it's changed my life because it actually allows you to succeed without even trying. Like before, I would try so hard to succeed, I wasn't succeeding. Now I feel like I'm succeeding with trying less because I'm living a much more real life. Like I spend so much time actually making things, but the things I make are like this are way more valuable than things I was making before because they're not like, it's not like hours of my life like a Gollum character, Lord of the Rings. You know, like I gotta like have this thing this one way. And
well, that's another LA thing too, in that you have a lot of people who made their way here either 10 or 20, 30, 40 years ago who maybe had this sense of what they would achieve in Los Angeles, only to find something else and to have to come to terms with that and then evolve.
And make something beautiful out of it.
Yeah. I mean, people make it work, or they either decide LA is not for them. Yeah. But one way or another, it's a path that involves a whole lot of dialogue with oneself and ultimately a confrontation with oneself to an extent or another. So when I hear you describe this path, I think about, again, the way that this is still happening, the way that a young creator is out in Los Angeles, maybe fresh from a city such as yours in Rochester.
Not that fresh anymore, but yeah. I mean, I think, but I think I'm getting younger. Like, people are always like...
I like that.
Like, I'm getting younger and younger. People look at me and they like, how do you think I was when you first met me? I think you know how I am now, but...
I didn't really think too much about your age. But
I used to be like 60 pounds more until... I used to be a lot more out of shape and then... Emphasis has replies to LA, but LA is also like an exercise capital. Like, it's another thing about LA is like if you want to be involved in exercise, like that's here.
Well, people want to look good in LA so that again they can advance to the best.
That's one way of thinking about it. Or it's just people really, really here value wellness. Like they want to eat healthy and they want to like live a long life just to live a long life. Like I don't think that there is a superficial version of like I want to look good so I can get the person or the job, but there's definitely a huge, at least my experience is like a huge part of it is like I just want to like be healthy, man. I want to like.
Actually, one of the first, maybe the reason we connected, interestingly enough, was over this conversation about basketball practice.
Yeah.
Like I had a jersey on or something to that effect, and then
you're like,
said,
I'm playing
"Hey,
a lot."
You play?
And you're talking about how you're doing your calisthenics, like in between times. Like, yeah.
And then we got into it, and I thought, yeah, that's cool because even though we still haven't gotten time for
we haven't done exercise yet
for a one-on-one
things. We had lunch. Yeah,
we've been hanging, we've been talking.
I almost see you almost daily for recently.
Seriously. I know,
it's just fun. It's a great thing about the community is like if you really stick around and actually like see the people, not just see them but see them and interact with them, like spend the extra 5 minutes. You think you're gonna lose it? Like when I was younger, I thought I was gonna lose that. Like I was like I can't give you any more of this time because I gotta go write something or whatever. Right. But if you spend that extra 5-10 minutes, like it comes back a millionfold. And that's something Kabbalah teaches, like that asynchronous thing. It's like there's a cause and effect of like the cause and effect of something happening, or the non-causal reality of like if you give more, you'll get a non-causal thing happen somewhere else in your life. Not that you need that's why you're doing it, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it also speaks to the sort of the fascinating way that we can come together to talk about these things, because I just so happen to have been born and raised in Los Angeles. I just so happen to be able to know what it is to take time to speak with my neighbors.
Yeah, tell me about that from your point of view. Yeah, how does that work for you? Did that, you always grow up with that attitude? Did your parents teach you that?
That's great because in LA, as someone who grew up in LA in the 90s and the early 2000s, there was definitely like this path, this trajectory that I was supposed to take along with like countless other young brown kids.
What was that?
Either just minimum wage employment for the rest of my life, if not if not gang culture, if not jail, if not drug addiction, basically the categories of poverty.
It's so not like that here.
Right, it is and it isn't.
Okay, I don't know.
It
It doesn't feel like it to me. It feels like so many people that I know, people of color, who are doing the things that everyone else is doing, that and they should be. Like why would that ever be not the case? But you know more than me.
Well, by all means. I mean, I think you're absolutely onto something there just as well. Like, and both of those things can be true, right? Like, you can have these creators, these producers, these writers and storytellers, and so much more. And then you've also got our contemporaries or our peers or people that we grew up with who are in a corner and who are indefinitely cornered by an empire, by a system of capitalism, racial capitalism, that designates where they'll be for the rest of their lives for no reason other than because of the zip code they just so happened to have been born.
Or where they were born, or not in a zip code, like not an American zip code.
Yeah, that as well.
Which is the crazy thing. I mean, we had lunch at Tacos Delta. Is that where we were?
Yeah, Tacos Delta. Shout out Tacos Delta.
One thing we talked about there was like, if you guys like the food in LA, LA is like one of the food capitals of the world. Like, we're repeating ourselves maybe, but you gotta support the people.
Yeah,
we're making the food.
10%.
And I saw this T-shirt today in Los Feliz yesterday. Maybe it was like, if you like the culture, help the people.
Real talk.
That's the fucking word of that's the maxim of this year or whatever, or this generation.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, I think about, like, going back to growing up in LA for a moment, actually, like, I think about the people in my life who had a tremendous impact on my life, who were able to help guide me away from just the path I was supposed to take based on the zip code I did or didn't come from. And I think about how a number of them were these white or white Jewish people. My favorite teacher of all time, I'm going to shout her out now, actually, Miss Holland.
Nice.
Miss Holland. I met in 6th grade. She was initially from New York. The city of New York, had a New York accent and all. A lot of my peers laughed at her for that. I adored her for it.
Yeah.
And I still do. I mean, I'd have many teachers over the course of my life, and I still do. But to this day, Miss Holland is the coolest teacher I ever met at any of the schools I attended. And she happens to be a white woman of Jewish descent, but it's also been the case recurringly that a number of the people I've been able to work with or build with, even create with, have also been these Jewish people or a part of the Jewish diaspora to one extent or another. Even when I was at UC Davis for my college years, one of my best peers there was this young Jewish woman who thought, hey, like, let's bring attention to the issues facing our college and our community. And we did great work together as a result of it. So the reason I bring that up is because when I think about whiteness in America today, and also say Jewish whiteness, I think about something we have to grapple with as a community. Not just whether you're Jewish or white or not, but as people who are alive in the 21st century. And and so I contextualize it with that sort of foreground because it's a conversation that I think more of us, not less of us, need to be having. And that's why this convo, this dialogue today is a privilege and an important part of what I hope to accomplish with the dialogues that I'm passionate about out there.
Because Jews are a big part of LA, and you're LA storyteller, and LA has a lot of Jewish people. Jewish people are involved in a lot of it, and we're on the right side of some things, and sometimes we aren't, just like every people and everything like that. And so I think what we're probably getting to, I know we already talked about this, is kind of what's been going on with Jews in LA, with Jews in America, with Jews in Israel, and Palestinians and Germans and South Africans and really any Pakistanis, Indians, really all these kinds of situations, and brown people and white people and black people, just so there's all these things that are in the air and perhaps we talked about in the air, right?
Sure.
I mean, I think that's...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to to set the table for that, I'd like to note that at least in LA, going back to LA for a second, before the
Sure.
before the rest, LA has been through a lot, just over the last 6-7 months, 8 months now to be certain. At the beginning of the year, we had these wildfires that devastated the city of Altadena as well as the Pacific Palisades.
Yeah.
And where people are still rummaging through, to be certain, because to lose your home in such a dramatic fashion so quickly involves, ironically and more regrettably, a long recovery process afterwards. Now, that's going on at the same time that this genocide, as I would certainly call it, in Gaza and in Palestine, is taking place now, specifically through using famine as a weapon against the Palestinian people. And so since about March, roughly speaking, more than 1 million people, nearly 2 million people in Gaza have essentially started down a path of starvation because the Israeli government refuses to let aid trucks through accordingly. And so to compound that, in Los Angeles, we've also got these ICE raids that have taken place. And a lot of people have taken to liken ICE's tactics or their policy to tactics used by the Gestapo in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. And I think rightly so, because I think that in order to understand this current moment, not just for Los Angeles, but for the world, we have to know what humans have done to each other previously, just as well. And so these are difficult issues, but issues that we have had to grapple with to one extent or another pretty daily out here in LA. Certainly, you and I have talked at length about these issues in one form or another, and what I mean to get across to folks out there is that, hey, there is still a conversation to be had between us and them, because at the end of the day, there is no us and there is no them.
Yeah. So when you say us and them, what does that mean to you at the moment?
Two sides which appear to be on opposite ends.
And are you saying that are you saying that me and you are on opposite sides?
I would not say that. I would say that you and I have far more similarities than not. But there are things, and lived experiences in particular, that will lead us in one direction versus another. And I think you have cited, for example, learning about the Holocaust and thinking about the Holocaust specifically in terms of why you would identify as a Zionist, let's say.
Right.
I didn't grow up learning about the Holocaust to the same extent, but being in Los Angeles and excavating my own people's history, so to speak.
Yeah, can you elaborate on your own people's history? How do you define your own people's history?
I see my people in Los Angeles as being indigenous to the American continent, and as having been in the American continent or as a part of the American makeup for thousands of years.
So you trace yourself to an indigenous population in this part of America. And what's the name of it? I'm an idiot. So,
well, to be certain, for example, indigenous people are like, say, Jewish people to an extent everywhere. So they come in different shades and different colors. They speak different dialects. So indigenous people in California are not the same as indigenous people in Utah, or indigenous people in Arizona, or indigenous people in central Mexico, or indigenous people in southern Mexico. But to be certain, my mom's first tongue was not Spanish. It was an indigenous language known as Zapotec.
Right.
And so having that part of my heritage or our heritage somewhat in view, even if through a fog to an extent, nonetheless allows me to see indigeneity as a foundational part of who I am and why I do what I do.
Which is beautiful, yeah.
Which I appreciate you saying too. And so when I think about the Jewish people and what I've learned about the struggles of the Jewish people, I think, well, in terms of the people I've come across and met and been able to collaborate and work with in my own life, I've seen that being persecuted as a people really humbles a person and allows them to connect with others on humble terms to do important work together for the human species. So when I think of Zionism then, or the sort of current manifestation of Zionism in the state of Israel, it's very difficult for me to
parse why it's happening that way.
Yeah, to process how those square up. But they don't necessarily square up because, again, not all Jewish people are Zionists. Not all Zionists are even Jewish people.
Well, I'll say a couple things. First of all, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I might have written 7 parody Haggadahs for the Jewish Holiday Passover, and I may know some things, but I'm definitely not an expert in these things. So there's definitely people who are, and we're just having a conversation.
Yes.
I will say one book that I have been working on a little bit on is this idea, a different book. It's the idea of, like, I read this book about Christopher Columbus, making fun of Trump and Christopher Columbus at the same time. There's this idea that, like, if you go back to, well, let me start over again. There's a biological part of a human being, and there's a divine part of a human being. And there's arguably a biological part of Judaism and a divine part of Judaism. The biological part you could say is Zionism, and the divine part you could say is Kabbalah. That's one way of thinking about it. And Kabbalah would say that everybody is part of the divine. Everybody is Jewish. Everybody is human beauty. Everybody is love. All is one. And the Zionism part might say that there's reason to protect the biological roots of the DNA and the ancestors and the lineage, the way you would say Zapoteca. And so those are at cross purposes. Like every human being, they're at cross purposes. Like when I'm in a bipolar or a mystical state, I can be too much hesed, which is too much loving kindness, and really, really not any gevura, which is per Kabbalah of boundaries and strength, and not know how close I am to dying by my giving, potentially. And so I think what Zionism is suggesting versus, I call myself a Zionist Kabbalist or a Kabbalistic Zionist. So it's like, how do you negotiate how much you give to the rest of humanity, quote unquote, as in like give to all of humanity, which I think is the utopic ideal right way of being, and how much do you succumb to the fact that we are creatures who are not God, where none of us are God, none of us are able to give to the extent that God can give, which is to every human being, and how do we hold that complexity, that paradox? And so I would say that I also have never been to Israel. I have my own, talk about being bipolar, I have my own delusions. I've been in so much pain about what's going on that sometimes I think this is not actually happening, what's happening over there. I think that maybe it's all AI, it's all a game. It's just movie Wag the Dog. I really like movies. Wag the Dog is this fake war that maybe they're testing Jews in America in order to say, like, are you really going to do all this for these few people? Then the contrast part of me, I look at the movie Die Hard. I'm like, well, it's also a value to, if someone's held hostage, to do anything it takes to free them. And that if your mom if you were captured and your mom asked the government to save you, American government, I want the American government to save you. You know, and I think that's the government should do some things like that. Like, it's hard to talk about. So again, I'm so dumb and I'm so not able to summarize the complexity of all this stuff. I hope that I'm suggesting a couple of things here, which is that I don't know. Did I say anything of value? It's hard to even know what I said, honestly.
Well, for example, absolutely, you said a number of things that are valuable because, for example, when you note that you've been in great pain over the events of the last couple of years, what I want to make clear to you is that, well, and we were talking about this before we started recording, this sort of collective pain has been at play for quite some time, right? Like, you may be a white Jewish man, I could be anyone else in Los Angeles. But the fact of the matter is that we've seen so much more of the same things than not. And we might have even experienced quite a bit of the same anguish to a significant extent over the last couple of years. And so I think when I consider, for example, what I've learned about addiction,
Mm-hmm.
even just at a glance,
Yeah.
when I think about the 12-step program, and when I think about our conversations regarding what we showcase versus what we actually hold up or stand by or practice,
Yeah.
I think, well, it's key to address the elephants in the room and name what is taking place and accept that this is going on,
Right.
because it is going on, and we also have to find a way to engage
With what's happening.
and to either make it work or keep it from working as it has anymore, to respond in a significant way, because we are human beings in the 21st century, and given our getting this far, we should be able to continue going, but not without first taking a look at what is holding us back. And so it's interesting, because in describing this, I can't help but think of describing a death, actually. And maybe it's death of the ego, right? Like, because maybe there's a huge part of our own ego that doesn't allow us, or that refuses to let us accept either how much pain we're in, or how much pain we've
most important
inflicted
thing.
on,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, on someone else.
I would say that another thing too is I went to Germany for the first. I went to Germany before I went to Israel. I never thought I'd ever go to Germany. I really didn't want to go, but it was after October 2023, after the most recent violence between both people, and I got there. I went to visit a woman, and I got there, and she wasn't able to see me for the first 3 days for business reasons, and so I was just went around by myself, and I was terrified. I was like a real Woody Allen character. I was like a real like, I guess you can't like talk about him, but I still like Woody Allen. I don't know what he did, but or did or didn't do. This is already getting me in trouble, but I was a character who was very nervous and anxious, and I didn't know anybody in Germany besides one person, and I felt like everybody there knew me as David Cowen, and they looked at me and they said without saying words, like, don't become us. Like, you are the victims here. Don't be the perpetrators over there. And the Jewish state is a pretty new state. But something else I want to say is that there's a lot of Muslim states. There's like 25 Muslim states. There's one Jewish state. And that's just in the Middle East. I mean, there would be even more in Indonesia, for example. And so, like when I read Mouse, I make comics, I make graphic novels. I made a graphic novel about the gun debate, about the polarization of our country in a couple, and also and how I thought I knew the answer to guns, would just get rid of all of them, and now I'm not so sure. I know I don't own one. I don't want to ever kill someone with someone, but I also know that I don't know. I just don't know. But I thought I knew a lot of things when I was younger. I don't know, and so one of the things I also don't know is, like Mouse, the creator of Mouse, Art Spiegelman. I think he would say, I'm not him. I think he would say that his book teaches anti-Zionism. It's a very, really reductionist. Right? To me, when I read it taught Zionism, which is the idea that there should be a place. I like living in America. I like being a citizen of Los Angeles. I like having friends like JT. I like having friends with everybody I play tennis with, who are people from all over, like Vietnam and India and like Persia and everybody in the world. I like that. I also like my Jewish community at times, of course, more than just times, but my point is I don't want to be one thing or the other. So I don't see myself necessarily. Maybe someday I'll change. I change every moment. So maybe one day I will live in Israel. I'm not saying I would never do that either. But my point is I've enjoyed being American, which is someone who lives in a melting pot where everybody can live here. And I think that's a good value. Though that's even changing. Or it's never been this. It's always a paradox, right? I mean, America has also been a white nationalist place, including right now. So it's like, and Israel is also a place where I'm speaking a lot of different things, but they had a protest recently with such a percentage of the population that it was like Like it was 10% of the population. Where in America, with the biggest protests have been like 0.04.
Right.
So like the amount of people that are actually against what's happening there, whether it's a war or genocide, however you define it, is higher than anything ever in America by far. And even in Germany, when Germany was going on, the biggest protest, I looked at it on AI at least, and also some Googling, it was like 300 people protested in Germany during the Nazi era. So like the amount of people that are protesting in Israel is like really, really high. And another way of talking about, again, I'm not an expert in this, so you have your facts. One way of talking about it is that they are doing some aid, but they're also, I think they are killing a lot of people. I like to be ignorant. Unfortunately for me, I've never been there. I don't know what's going on over there. It doesn't seem right. It seems like it's excessive. It seems like it's definitely too much. But I also don't live over there, and I don't know them. But I live in America, and I know what's happening with your people is not right. Like I go to those protests, and I do my best to support what's happening here because I am an American. I'm not an Israeli, so like it's hard for me. But also, you're going to point out, like, I have donated to Israeli IDF. I have done that. And I've also donated to Palestinian causes, and I will do that again. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I want you to know that.
Yeah.
I want you to know that I'm open to not knowing.
Yeah,
To be certain.
right.
And,
Sure.
and my
And you also don't have to be.
Yeah,
You also don't have to be.
Well, yeah. My purpose isn't to have you answer for the entire
Sure.
for the entire last 2 years or for.
I mean, it's been more years. I mean, the thing too is like Islam started. No, I don't know. God only knows. I don't know. But Islam started as part of a Jewish schism. They took the story of Ishmael, but there was just been going on for a long time. I mean, I had this book about Columbus where I want to finish working on. Is like they discovered he was Jewish 2 years ago or last year. Who knows, right? And the idea is that he couldn't go back to take back Israel because it was colonized by Muslims, because it was Jews first, then it was Muslims, and then now it's more Jews again. And this is, so the joke of the book is a humor book. I write humor books, and it was like, well, he decided to colonize America because he couldn't colonize back from the Muslims. So like this whole indigenous system is very, very falling apart because the Jews, in certain ways, you know this, right, are the indigenous people of that land, in theory. I believe, at least to some degree, and yet they were sent away from there into Europe, and some people stayed and lived amongst people, and some people were like, I read a book. It's like there's a book in the House of Ishmael by this writer Gabriel, and it's the history of it. And so there's a lot of like back and forth. There's a lot of, they were living well together, and they were mean to each other, and then other people's mean to them. Sometimes they live well together. Like this is like been going on, and not to say that that's right, but it's. Anyway, I do not know. God only knows how much I don't know. I'm making a fool of myself, probably. I'm just being honest. I'm making a fool of myself.
You're not making a fool of yourself, but I think there's an interesting paradox there in that we look at history as a series of events which have taken place, and we process history as a series of events which have taken place so that we may craft
a narrative.
Right. Well, not just a narrative, but also a more informed present moment, and therefore, by extension, a more informed future, so that we may avoid repeating the same mistakes as those of our predecessors and such. But the reason I bring that up as well is because if we can accept the inhumanities that humans have inflicted upon one another, historically speaking, then I think it makes sense that we're able to process the inhumanities humans are currently doing, inflicting on one another. And I don't think that the inhumanity is relegated strictly to Palestine and the state of Israel at this moment. I think, and this will maybe slightly segue us to an extent, though we will get back to this up to a point, I think it's really the death of capitalism on a global scale. Because capitalism on a global scale has inflicted so much harm upon indigenous people, upon the environment, upon our ability to connect authentically with other human beings, that this is the system we have to come to terms with. So when
that's what your opinion is about this?
That's what my opinion is about this.
Wow.
So when we look at Palestine and Israel, I see it as a symptom of a larger more entrenched issue with colonialism and systems of governance by which the very powerful few exercise absolute control over many, many more, until the latter say collectively or move collectively towards something more humane, towards something more fitting, especially given the challenges that we're looking at as a species in the 21st century. So I want to bring that up only to diffuse the amount of interest in just
well,
one part of a much larger problem.
Sure. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like there's empire. There's always been empire, and there's always, and in the Christian tradition especially, there's empire and there's like Christians, right? Or there's someone told me this story. I was at this job, and they told me this story about how the native people who were left were with the mayor of Eric Garcetti, and they suggested that Eric Garcetti was just named Eric instead of calling him mayor, and that story was told in order to suggest that the native people knew that even though this person is the king of Los Angeles, like, it's not really what's going on here. And I think that, like, capitalism and empire, like, what's going on here is, like, me and you are hanging out and having a good time in this conversation. And what's going on is, like, we just got great tacos from a local place, and we're going to do that again, and we're going to support businesses. And, like, no matter who's president, life is going to go on. Like, Obama said it great. Like, the sun's going to rise the next day. And, like, so I think, like, capitalism and that whole game, like, I think that's a game to keep us from living and enjoying the present moment, which is, like, the Kabbalah way of speaking about it, is that, like, no matter what's going on, whether you're the victim or the apathetic to your being oppressor, I do think that there's something about, I mean, do you find in your day-to-day life, like, that you're oppressed by capitalism, or you find that you're enjoying your day-to-day life?
Well,
that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I think that's a great question, because I look at my life in Los Angeles in relation to the lives of other people in Los Angeles.
And do you know that they're suffering, or are you assuming they're suffering?
Well, I think about the facts. So I think about,
help me understand that. Sorry.
So I think about LA as the capital, LA and the state of California as the capital of people without a roof over their heads.
Sure.
In the United States. So they're like, at a minimum, you're talking about probably officially, that is based on the last count in the state of California, 250,000 people in the Golden State who don't have
a house,
a roof over their head. And I think about the sort of the larger picture in that if you don't have a place to call home, it's highly unlikely that you have adequate health care.
Yep.
And if you don't have adequate health care, it is much more likely that you have serious health issues that will shorten your life over the course of the long term. Additionally, if you are homeless and you are criminalized for being homeless, you're at greater risk of incarceration. And if you're at greater risk of incarceration, once again, your lifespan is shortened. I think about not just people who are homeless, but also people who are on the brink of homelessness. And actually, with respect to that,
that's another part of the story.
That's another part of this conversation that I would love.
Let's talk about it.
To delve into for a second. Tell me about this friend, this peer of yours, who's also a local, who's dealing with exactly what we've discussed, and who you are trying to support to one extent or another in order to avoid some of those larger consequences.
Yeah. So with the mental health or the spirituality that I have, sometimes some people worry about me. They're like, you could be homeless someday. Like if I didn't have the resources that I have from my family or from the work I've done and the things I've contributed to society that either will earn money or have earned money.
Just to be sure, who are some of those people, and why have they said that? Without having to name anyone too specifically, like who has expressed concern that you could be homeless one day, and why?
Oh, like my mom, my dad's passed, but I think friends have. Like, I mean, I think the thing is, this is like, I'm an artist, so I give 100% to my art, and like art doesn't always make money in this world. It really doesn't sometimes. And I make books and I make decisions that are really just for art. Like, I'll spend whatever it takes to make the art, and I do that partly because I believe in it, and partly because I have resources from when my dad died that allow me to do some of those choices. But it's not that much money, and I'm not that close to not working very long for forever. So it's endless. But the point is,
But the point is, yeah,
there's a certain point I went out and met this person and made a song with them. He lives on the street. He makes music. I made a song with him, and then the next night I went out again with him, and we were just filming each other, hanging out, talking, and I was helping him with his story. I've been filming him for maybe 5 movies now, so I think he's okay with talking about this. But he's a musician who has a brother who they were Sanders guys, and they were a good family and made a lot of great music together. And then the brother got really into QAnon and into Trump and like split, and then the rest of the family went that direction, and he was left on his own. And he started to believe they were like cyber weapons, like that they were like had turned from the internet, made them into cyber weapons, and made them into not the real people anymore. Like, they're not his brother anymore, even though they still exist. And so he had these delusions, and he ended up in jail, and he ended up in jail for a year, and he had mistreatment there. Now he's out in our neighborhood, right, our neighborhood where we both live, and he plays music, and people help him, some people don't. And I met him, and I was like him in that week, in the sense that like I had my own delusions. My own delusions were that Israel was not doing what they're doing, that was all a game, and that I was being helped by the Israel aristocracy, that I had a camera in my eye, that, you know, there's a million ways of describing the delusions that I have. I just know that they're like, I was living with them as I was living regular life, you know, and so I was like him, even though but the only difference was I had 2 jobs at the time. I worked at the library, I worked at a different job, and I was going to those jobs, and I was making interviews with Pulitzer Prize winning graphic novelists, you know, at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I was on medicine. He's not on medicine, right? Because he came out of the hospital. He doesn't have a psychiatrist, doesn't have a home, isn't sleeping very well. All the things you're talking about. And I will say he is white. You know, he has an English background. Like he thinks of himself as part of English Anonymous. And then maybe I have been helping people in the neighborhood who are not white. I've been helping people with money and food in general for a while now. That's not abnormal. But to me, his music resonated with me because it was like about books that I had read, like about like spiritual books, so spiritual lyrics. It was like stuff that like if I was a musician more, I would have made something like that maybe. And maybe I resonated with him because I'm white or white Jewish and he's white English. Maybe that helped. I don't know. But I did. Then the next night I went and filmed a video with him, and someone came up, a security guard came up and was like, I like security. I like cops, even though I also really like everybody. I like immigrants. I want them to stay. I want everybody to stay. I'm more of a globalist than not. You know, I think there's a lot of room for a lot of wealth to go a lot of places, and for capitalism to be a lot more humane, or whatever you want to call it. So, but I was filming him for like an hour, and then the security guard came by, and I said something like, I like security. And I think he thought I was joking. I think he thought I was making fun of him, but I'm not. I wave to all security in our neighborhood. I try my best to. And then he came back and he just punched me like 3-4 times in the face, the security guard. And I was bleeding, and Colin kind of helped me, like call the police, and then I went to the ambulance, and it's on tape. You can see the movies. And so since then, there was a bunch of days in a row where like after that, I kept hanging out with Colin, and I might have had a concussion, I think, but Colin was like a friend during that time because he just kind of hung with me. And the funny thing is, I thought he was sent by artists to help me. I thought he was like an LA artist who was part of a community of artists who were like my friends, being like, he's pushing away his real friends, and we need to send him like a fake friend to guide him so he doesn't make a mistake and mess up his legal case. And then the funny thing is, Colin thought that about me, that I was sent by his musician friends, because he has musician friends from his time in LA when he was more well. He thought I was someone sent to help him. And then now we've realized that we just have to help each other. That like that is the true community. Like there is no like conspiracy of like artists helping each other. Maybe there should be. Maybe that should be like a cool fucking thing we do in LA is like help people who are. So that's what we're doing. I'm like committed resources and time, and we're filming this. We're gonna make an album. He's really talented. We're gonna make an album, and he's got other people helping him, not just me. There's guys Seth is helping him, and so that involves getting him an ID and a phone and things like that. And that's all happening, and I want to help. I feel like I'm a real shaman or like a real like doing men's work with this person, but they're also curing me just as much because they stopped me from making a legal mistake. I almost made a legal mistake and they protected me in the third. You see in the third movie, like I was on my own. I almost made a really bad choice and they helped me. So I mean, the situation is resolved for the most part now, and I don't want to go into details, but my point is he's a real friend. But you're right, he has teeth problems. We gotta get him a lot of things. So.
Right. Well, and actually, with respect to that, no, because you said that during this time you had people come and stay with you. So
at times, yeah.
So is it?
And people called the police on me and wellness checks, things like that.
So is it around this time that your mom came by and said, "Hey,
she came from New York, yeah.
Like if you're not careful, like if you're not more careful, then you could end up on the street as well."
Yeah.
Is it around then
I mean, that's been said. That's been said a couple of times. Like even that book, that Kanye Haggadah that I wrote. Like when I wrote that, mom. I don't know, mom's some certain kind. I love my mom. My mom has given me many things. I even told her today that her Jewish education was the best things. I told her on the phone today, like the Jewish education she gave me was one of the best things she ever gave me. And I never really told her that before. And she said, write that down, because that's really important that you said that finally. So my mom is incredible. My mom really cares. My mom loves me. But like, just like moms have fear about their kids, they don't want the worst things to happen to them. Just like countries have fears, like just like Zionism is a fear that Jews won't exist, and then they're gonna do things that invade boundaries. Like I didn't want my mom to invade my boundary. I didn't want her to come visit. I wanted to do what I had to do, and that's a micro level of a larger level of like if someone is overprotective, they could invade boundaries and do the worst possible things, which is kill people. But again, back to Kabbalah for a second. I think Kabbalah teaches that like it's not just a Jewish thing. It's just every culture has this idea that like we are love. We are and I'm so dumb that I can't even explain it properly. Like you need a real rabbi or whatever to understand this stuff. Like I'm not that, but it's basically the idea that we probably shouldn't be doing what we're doing over there. Like there has to be a better outcome at some point. Like, right? I mean, I hope I'm not like embarrassing everybody that knows me by saying that like it's probably not going, just probably need to stop something. Right? I mean, I don't know. I feel horrible saying it, honestly. I don't know what the answer is, to be perfectly clear. And maybe Kabbalah would also say that like there's some reason it's all happening. Like maybe like there's some reason that we went from being the victims of the Holocaust to some perpetrators, and that ultimately is going to lead to like a really good outcome. Yeah. Like that's going to lead to like a spiritual awakening.
Well, I think when you described this, one of the first things that struck me about the resistance to what has taken place over the last couple of years was the formation of this group known as Rabbis for Ceasefire. They actually held a press conference just in Washington, D.C. It was in 2023, and their whole stated purpose was the fact that each world is a world. So
that's beautiful. That's exactly from that
each
language.
World is a world. Yeah, like every human that you meet, which you have described to a T during this conversation, right? You have described the way that LA is a global city, the way that everyone in LA is an angel, the way that everything that Colin has done, the way that everything JT has been up to, the way that all these people, the very folks behind this production have helped us out. Yeah. All of them have a world. Yeah. All of them are a world. All of them have been created by God or by... And
they're equal. They're not... There's no force. Superiority. Yeah.
And to take one...
is not worth it.
To take one is not worth it. It's also an act against...
It's going to hurt you.
It's an act against creation itself, terrible. Right? It's an act against creation itself.
And why do we? That's why it feels like a comedy. It feels like there's how many hostages are left? There's like, this is where it gets. Is there 20 hostages left? And we're gonna kill how many more people? Like it feels like it feels like a comedy, and I'm saying that as a comedian, like it feels absurd. And yeah, I understand also the diehard aspect of it, that like it's also a drama. It's also like we do anything to protect our like if it's your child, you do anything to protect that child. So it's like that comedy and that absurdity and that drama and that reality are so just beyond. That's why it made me go mad. One of the things that made me go mad is like it's unprocessable.
Yeah.
But and then what's happened with your people too? It's like when I went to Germany, I said this we did another chat. Like in Germany, it was like Hitler's thing. Every day was a new like decree of like Jews can't do this, Jews can't do that, Jews have to do this. That's what happened to your people. Like literally, it's the same fucking decrees.
And there are people.
There
are
sorry,
people.
sorry.
Absolutely.
No, I'm words can't explain it.
Of course, absolutely. But I respect that because it's interesting. It's interesting the way that we've talked about Los Angeles and we've talked about Palestine. We've gone from the local to the global. But in the end, especially because we are just a couple of guys here today.
Definitely just for me. Yeah. You're way smarter and better at this. I'm a guy. I'm a regular guy.
The reason I mentioned it is because life, especially in LA, this big city, it ends up being a small world.
It is.
And I bring it up because it was maybe just a week and a half ago that I reconnected with a colleague of mine who I'd worked with in Los Angeles at this really cool org, this writing program that I'd love to tell you more about later, that I will tell you more about in due time. Yeah. Absolutely. But we sort of reconnected after a handful of years of not having been in touch, just because of the way that the work rhythm tends to take us in different directions. And in reconnecting, I learned that this colleague of mine shared with me that she'd had this son, that she now has this son who's about 2 years old, who she loves, along with her husband. Shout out to them. Congratulations to them.
God bless.
Absolutely. And then she also shared with me the story of this half-brother of hers, because she's Palestinian on her father's side, and her father still resides in the West Bank. And it turns out that her youngest half-brother is friends with this young man whose name is Ibrahim. Ibrahim is just 23 years old, and he and his wife Nagam have just welcomed their son Khalid into the world, just as early as this year. But just as recently as this year, but because of everything going on, which should be a joyous time for them of lifting up their newborn, has consisted, instead of renting a temporary apartment with 8 other people, the rest of the family that is, while the threat of a new ground invasion by the IDF is underway. And so I bring up Ibrahim's story because Jory, the friend who I reconnected with, who told me about Ibrahim, is overseeing a fundraising campaign for Ibrahim and his son Khalid. And I want to shout that out to anyone out there who has come to this discussion out of interest for these issues and out of interest for the state of the world, and out of hope that through this dialogue we might be able to do better together somewhere, somehow. If that is in fact your interest.
And I have an idea already. I want to give the exact number that I'm giving to Colin, that I pledged to Colin, this musician person.
Sure.
I want to give the exact number to this group. And I won't say the number, but it's significant, because you told me not to say the number, right?
I did tell you not to.
But we also I didn't even think that I was going to give that number to this. You just said, just so you know, I wouldn't mention numbers in these kinds of situations. So the same number that's going to Colin for this music project, for this local person that is white and is not Jewish, but not that any of this matters. We're playing the game here. To me, it's a game in some ways. I know it's not right, but I want to give the exact same number to these people. We didn't even talk about this.
We didn't talk about this beforehand, and that's the thing. That's what I think is the power behind this discussion, and that's why I was so excited to put this together with you and why I'm so thrilled to be doing this with you, because
you're really good at this. You're really good at pitting people.
At a glance, someone else might say, what is the purpose of that exactly? And I think to myself, actually, like Dave Cowen, and I love how you described the difference between Cowen and Cohen earlier in our convo, because only until you brought it up did I start to think about it. I think, you know what, Dave Cowen is Los Angeles, and he's Los Angeles in so many different respects, including because there's more to the story than just what meets the eye. And for that purpose, I really want to thank you for sitting down with me today. We could just keep going, and at some point we will, but for now,
this is good.
I think we are onto something here that people in and across Los Angeles and all over the world will appreciate.
I agree.
I wholeheartedly believe in that. So,
and the funny thing is, I'm gonna see this guy tomorrow probably.
We'll probably definitely catch each other just around the way. In fact, we'll probably
we won't be there tomorrow, but maybe I'll see you Monday.
Or we'll wrap up this podcast, and then 15 minutes later, I'm gonna ask you what you have going on. And we'll just be out and about. I'm going to a party too.
Beautiful.
Which I would have invited you to, but now we both of us
we're going our ways. We'll come back again. That's LA.
So cool,
That's
man.
LA.
No, really, that is Los Angeles for me. And
maybe I'll give you the address of my party. You'll give me the address of your party. Maybe I'll still show up.
Yeah, we could like.
Still show up. Maybe I'll do two parties.
Well, mine is probably closer to the neighborhood than yours.
So maybe I will stop on the way back.
I think that
I would love that. I honestly would.
Incredible.
Can I wear my suit?
Are
you going to wear your suit?
We'll match.
Oh my gosh. This is one of the best storytellers, human beings in LA. I don't think I've said enough good things about him. I got to say at least 100 more, which is that you're the future. You're the future, not just of LA, but of entertainment. Like, this is entertainment because it's real, it's fun, it's sweet, it's kind, it's truthful, it's smart, it's like intelligent, it's empathetic. This is what we need. We need this person having a platform for things like this. And like, I don't know if people like me anymore or if they ever did, but okay, good. Well, people should like you, and they do like you. And this is the work that matters. So I'm gonna do my part, not just, I'm doing my part to get this out there. And because I think what you're doing is incredible. And I love to connect you with more people that I know that hopefully want to be part of your platform, because what you're doing is just you're so natural at it. It's so expert at it. Like, you've done it for many years already, you said, but you're so natural, and so we got to know each other.
Yeah. And
that's true of everybody in LA, I think, almost. Not even almost. Everybody in LA. Everybody in LA has such a deep story. That's the fucking thing with LA stories. It's just, guys, and I said a curse word because that's who I am sometimes too, is like, just talk to someone longer than you would normally, and you'll have a great time. And that will pay dividends, not just in more ways than you can even imagine. Just do that every day, more than once. Keep doing it. Do it. And time is elastic. Time is not going to go away from you. You'll get that time back some other way. I could say a million more things, but this is one of the best guys in the city, and everybody's a good person in the city, but this is one of the best.
Podcast of the year?
Oh yeah, number one.
Let's go.
My pleasure, dude. Absolute pleasure.
Hey, just the fist bump. There you go. That's LA.
Oh, I missed that. See, I'm not quite LA. I'm not full LA. I'm
You're
enough.
getting there.
I'm enough.
You're way closer than you give yourself
God
credit
willing,
for.
I'm enough.
Yes, so this has been JT, the LA Storyteller Podcast. My guest today has been Dave Cowen.
David Cowen, too. We don't know. We still don't know.
It could also be David Cowen.
The point is,
it was a blast, and I can't wait to do that again with you as well before too long.
I love it.
Thanks once again to our team, the guys behind the screens.
Yeah.
Thank you to Esteban, the Garment District, Moms, Pops, the whole gang.
Yeah.
From us to you, let the city know.